Clint Novak, Funland of Fredericksburg in Virginia. Thanks for joining us here on this Attraction Pros COVID-19 video series where our goal is to provide more resources and more content for the industry, for us all to be able to navigate through this crisis together. What's going on with you? How are you?
I'll say this is the highlight of my day. If it wasn't for this, I would be waxing floors in my building, and that's just Monday, I guess now.
Well, you're welcome.
More exciting than waxing floors in the building. So yeah, so what has been a day in the life for you lately, kind of since you closed?
It was the timeline was very quick. We closed on March 15th at 4 p.m. It was a Sunday. The Wednesday before that, we had no clue where life was going. Like, we were like, oh, we're going to put more hand sanitizer, wipe down stuff, and we're going to be proactive. We were thinking at the time that was going to be proactive, and these are the steps that we're taking. And by Sunday, the governor of Virginia, CDC, said no more than 10 people in a space. Well, at the time it was 50, and then the next day it was 10. And so we closed our doors, and we haven't been open since. We do have 6 full-time managers, salaried managers that are still working Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, putting in 45 hours a week. We come in and we do things like wax the floors, clean the games, do preventative maintenance. We're doing things to the building that we couldn't normally do during regular operating times. So we're just trying to get all of that stuff squared away. And frankly, we have enough of that we could go a year like this if we had to, but it is it's not the kind of work we want to be doing. We'd rather be operating and having the park open.
Absolutely. Now, you talked about how quickly this is changing. At the time of this recording, you may get a new announcement later on today. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we don't know what the announcement is. The governor of Virginia is going to be making an announcement at 2 o'clock, but earlier today, the governor of Maryland had announced that they're going to actually be closing the state down and issuing a stay-at-home order. And by doing so, they've made it basically the law that you have to stay at your house unless it's essential. And if you leave for non-essential reasons, it could be fined with a $5,000 fine and jail time. And so if that happens, I don't even think we would be able to come into work. We would have to, because we're not essential. So we would have to stay home. And, there's questions we don't know yet. Like, do we get to check the building every day? Do we get to, we don't know. We have no clue what's going on yet. So, and that's really the situation we're at. It changes so quickly. You don't know day to day what's going on. And a conversation I had this morning is drastically changed with the announcement at 2 o'clock if it is indeed a statewide shutdown.
So what are you doing to plan for something like that as far as being proactive for, you mentioned you've come up with a couple of questions like, can we check the building? What does this mean as a GM, as an operator of a business that isn't operating right now? What can you do to plan to be able to kind of get through that time if you do go to this total lockdown and shutdown?
There's questions like, okay, what in the building can we keep running, and what needs to be shut down? Most of it's already shut down. Air conditioning units, heating units, all of those have been shut off. We're very, everything's just minimal spending. And, we don't want to do any unnecessary spending because, again, we have no clue how long this is going to last. When we first went into shutdown mode, we thought it was going to be like 2 weeks. And now they're saying end of April, that's a month away. And, if it's not under control, then that means you could be looking at, could we be open by Memorial Day? Those are the questions. We don't know. And the great thing about our team and the fact that we're not like a big corporate entity or anything like that is our team is very fluid. We can run with the punches, and we have we don't necessarily have a plan right now for every scenario, but we can easily come up with a plan and initialize it very quickly, where, bigger companies, it'll take a while to get that out and get those plans rolling.
So Clint, can you talk a little bit about your team? You said you have 6 or 7 people working there now. Obviously everybody else is not there, but how did your team take it? Kind of how did you communicate it? Sort of what was that process like?
We're still in the process. So we did a 2-week communications, and that expired yesterday, or today, I guess, because we sent it out today. And we're getting ready to send out another statement, which we've now halted because we want to see what the governor's going to say before we issue that statement. And really, the statement is, I mean, we had to lay off, over 80 employees. We have 6 left, and that's including managers, leadership. There's a lot of people that were in there that we rely on to run this park that are not here helping us. So it really is, the communications that we're sending out is, just clarifying what everybody's role is right now. Things that they can do, check with the unemployment office to see if they qualify for unemployment, check with their creditors, check with their landlords, check with their utilities, see if there's anything they can do to push back payments or any of those kind of things. There's a lot of things. The good thing is everybody is in this together, whether it's a landlord, utility, everybody's in the same boat, and everybody's feeling the pinch from this. And so, really everybody's kind of working together to see how we're going to get through this. And, we just want to try to get the message out to the employees that, while we may not be able to give them hours and get them on the clock, there are things that they can do to sustain the longevity of this crisis.
You mentioned the 2-week blocks of communication, which makes a lot of sense given how fluid the situation is right now. And you can't just say, all right, in 2 weeks from now, we know what it's going to be. What has kind of been the strategy around it? You said that you put out communication a couple of weeks ago. That was when you closed. What did that communication look like? And then how did your responsiveness change as the situation continued to evolve?
Yeah, the first statement we put out was, letting people know that we had closed, or letting our employees know that we closed, and that we were going to reassess in 2 weeks. It's now 2 weeks, and so we've reassessed and sending out the next batch of information, and just letting them know what options they may have, and hopefully again we're all the employees are laid off. We're hoping that they're all getting a rehirable status. So if they want to look for employment elsewhere, they can put us down as a favorable reference. Once this is all said and done, any employee who was in good standing on March 15th will have first dibs on their position coming back if they would like to join us back. I feel like this is hitting the entertainment industry more so than any other part of any industries. The entertainment industry had to fully shut down and very quickly. The restaurants, they still have some form of income. Some obviously had to shut down. Some are still awake open doing curbside service or deliveries. I live in a very remote area. We got Domino's and that was it. Now we can get Outback Steakhouse delivered because the delivery range has opened up so wide that they're willing to drive 30 miles to deliver Outback. So, that tells you how badly they want to stay afloat. But that gave very little, theaters could not stay open. Bowling, a lot of bowling places had to close. Chuck E. Cheese, Dave and Buster's, all these entertainment, we just had to close up, and we don't have that delivery system yet to bring the fun to your house. So.
Yeah, one of the funniest things I've seen kind of out of this is people sort of, parodying, I guess, working from home if you're a lifeguard. Sitting on a stand looking at a bathtub, or I saw one yesterday, there was a computer monitor and a ride operation panel on somebody's desk. A go-kart operator can't work from home, right? Yeah. That's not a job that you can transfer to the home. So I agree that I think there's a lot of things that kind of hit our industry that's maybe a little different than others. A banker or a lawyer or somebody who typically goes into work, all they need is their laptop and an internet connection and a phone, and they can still, do a lot of business at home. But for us, it is a little bit different. And I would imagine that's also more difficult from your standpoint, because something you said earlier really triggered me, because you were talking about the uncertainty. And it's not that we don't have answers. We don't even know what the questions are yet, right, to know what those answers are. So I'm also curious, like, what questions are you getting from your team and from your managers, even that are still there?
Well, I'll say the managers that are here right now, we haven't been asking a lot of questions. The former team members have been contacting us saying, when can we come back to work? And our response is, we didn't choose this shutdown. We were forced with the shutdown. So, the government, the CDC, and I'd even say the general public would say we can't be open. So, even if we tried to do something, they would step up and say, no, the social ridicule that other businesses are getting are very high right now. And so the public is really doing what they should and saying, no, everybody just needs to, one, stop supporting the businesses that are staying open, and two, those businesses should be closed. That's how you stop the spread. So, and we're trying to, yes, we've got 6 guys here. We are doing, all of this, 9 hours of, stuff in the park to just do clean up and keep working. But we've also tried to bring a little bit of fun to the guests as well that are sitting at home in their own quarantine. Every day at 2:00, we've been able to do we call it Live on the Midway, where we turn on a game in the park and we select people from home to team up with a manager, and the manager plays the game for them, and the 4 managers play each other, and the winner gets to have a 1,000-ticket shopping spree at a redemption counter. So it kind of gives them a way that they get to play interactive online, watch somebody play for them, and then they get a little care package a week later in the mail full of candy or whatever it is that they got from the redemption counter. We've been looking at just doing different things through social media to reach out to our guests to say, just to keep us relevant. Hopefully they'll come back once everything is said and done and we reopen. Guests who had season passes, we've extended it for 3 months for now, and we'll wait out the situation, see what happens. If we have to extend it again, we could. But yeah, for right now, if your pass was valid on March 15th, it's going to be valid the day we open, and it had the 3 months added on from whenever it was supposed to expire.
Are people still buying season passes? Are you actively selling anything right now?
We actually shut down our online store on the 15th, so that people could not purchase things online. We would love people to support us and show their support by buying gift cards and things online. But the uncertainty of the situation was we didn't want people to buy something that they thought they could use a week from now, and then us not being able to open, and then them wanting a refund. Sure. And so we said, okay, well, we're just going to stop all sales, and so we don't have to deal with the refund policies and stuff. Because here's another question: if we have to shut down and we can no longer come to the building, we're not going to be able to help the guests that we currently have in the system that need help. So it's like there's going to be a lot of questions. Again, we don't have the answer to, but we know we're going to have to do something for them.
So knowing that this is going to be a minimum of a 6-week shutdown, let's say, and hopefully, May 1st, you're given the green light, you can reopen. That's what we're all hoping, given the current situation we're going at least to the end of April. What does that mean for your staff from a training standpoint? You said that your staff that has been laid off has first dibs at being able to get their job back. If it is 6 weeks, do they need to be retrained on rides? Like what type of I guess new hire training are your existing staff members going to need to go through, or are they able to just bounce back to work?
We don't have the answer to it yet. And again, it all depends on the longevity of this. I would say if by the end of April we had not reopened, then yes, there would definitely be additional training that those staff members would have to go through. That would not keep us from opening, because we could just open the arcade and keep the rides closed until we have them properly staffed. Again, I think even big parks are going to have this issue. Places like King's Dominion and amusement parks all over the East Coast were getting ready to open the weekend that this happened. So it was like the following, Busch Gardens, they were supposed to open the weekend that we shut down. King's Dominion the week after, Dollywood the week that this happened. So there's going to be employees that have been out that have to come back, and those parks are going to have even more of a difficult time opening quickly, because they're going to have to, the off season that they would normally take to train them, they're not going to have that. They're going to have to bring them back in very quickly, go through the retraining and reopen. And I think we'll have to do something very similar as well. There's going to be some cafe employees that won't necessarily have to go through much training. They'll just have to get their basic serve safe stuff. But the ride employees will probably have to go through individual training again, do refresher courses, and get people recertified.
So Clint, I love the things that you guys are doing, the 2:00 thing, with the game, and, to keep your guests energized and things like that. I'm curious about, because you get to go to the office today at least, and who knows after this. But for folks who are, at home and, maybe playing too many video games, or, just they're feeling quarantined, sort of, what sort of thoughts do you have for them to not feel so isolated?
Well, there's tons of, the technology we have today is much different than it was, even 5 years ago. And the way we can stay connected, you said video games. If I was quarantined 10 years ago, I'd be playing Call of Duty all day, and that'd be my only interaction to the outside world, so to speak. But now it's like, okay, we're on Zoom right now having this conversation, and Zoom is all of a sudden turned in very quickly to the number one way for people to stay connected. They can have verbal interaction instead of just that, online typing back and forth interaction. And, I've used this, Zoom last Friday to do like a virtual meetup with a whole bunch of coaster enthusiast friends, so we could get together. And then we're going to play board games doing the same thing this week with it. So we're going to, take 6 people. We're going to do it live on Facebook so people can watch us having fun, and hopefully they'll take that and run with it as well. I've seen other FECs similar to us. Fun for All in just outside of Pittsburgh is doing a great contest where they're asking people to build their own replicas of attractions at their park. And some people have built things out of Legos, showing off different rides and attractions that they have. And some people have built full-scale arcade games out of cardboard boxes. So they have like the huge Slam-A-Winner they've got built out of boxes, and somebody goes up and drops the ball, and it goes in, and they have a rotating thing. It's amazing just to see the creativity that some of these families have. It's like building science projects. Or that kind of method, and they're just putting stuff together and having some fun. I recently got into TikTok. I've never downloaded TikTok before ever, and yesterday I posted for the first time, and I even said on Facebook, I said, "This is the day TikTok becomes uncool," because I have now gotten on it. So, and I'm telling you, the time I wasted on TikTok yesterday was unmeasurable. Like I was laying in bed, and I was like, okay, it is 11 o'clock. I'm going to watch a few videos, scrolling through. And the next thing I know, it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It was crazy the amount of time I spent watching TikTok videos and how entertaining they actually are. So
that's funny. Yeah. So when you do reopen, we talked about kind of potentially a phase reopen if you have the arcade first as you were working to staff up the rides and the attractions. What do you anticipate as far as just a shift in guests' mentality or the service that you deliver, or like what changes to your operations are you thinking about now for when you reopen?
Well, I mean, the biggest changes is we had a 2020 project we were working on that we had to now scrap. It will happen. It's just not going to happen this year. And we don't even know if we'll be able to do it next year at this point, because we've been hit so hard by this. We had plans for next year, ideas for next year that are just no longer even viable ideas. So that's the part that, really hurts, is the fact that, we have As you guys know, we've been rapidly expanding and doing all of this great stuff at the park, and now we've just slammed on the brakes and everything is just at a crawl, and that's not the way we're used to working. We have all these things that we want to do that we probably won't be able to do until we get everything back on track. That being said, there's going to be big economic issues with the country and the world that we are not going to feel the impact for quite some time, or we're going to feel more of an impact. If everybody's out of work, nobody's getting money. We may get money stimulus from the government, but they're not going to be able to spend that on things like fun because the fun is closed. So they're going to be spending it on food. There's going to be supply chain issues where the supply getting to the supermarkets is going to be an issue, because if they're telling everybody to stay home, that means some businesses aren't going to be able to provide produce or the things that you would get at the supermarket. So there's going to be big issues that we're going to see in this shutdown. But on the other side, will people have the money to spend for fun? That's the big question. What will their funds be on the other side of this shutdown? Will they have the spending to do vacations? Will they have the spending to be able to go to Funland? What will they be able to do? Or is everybody going to be in debt?
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point just about the money that people may or may not have, right? So does that put you in the mindset of, if we are able to open, I should say when we're able to open, does that include discounting? Does that include something where you're doing more incentives to just get people in the door?
All good questions. I mean, I'll say we don't have any competitors, but really we compete with everybody. Yeah. So, if there's a Sky Zone across the street, there's a Chuck E. Cheese right at the edge of our parking lot. We have a movie theater a block away. We have 2 movie theaters 2 blocks away. We have a mall. We have all these different facilities that offer entertainment. And while we don't directly compete with any of them, we all compete for entertainment dollars. So if you're doing spending that's not deemed necessary, we're all competing for that. And if there's going to be a lot less on the other side, things like the movie industry are going to be hurt from this. I don't know if you guys have gotten into the Netflix craze, the Tiger King. Did you guys watch any of that?
I have not yet, but Josh has.
I told Matt he needs to watch it. I just finished it.
It was like I was told Friday about this, and we already finished 7 episodes this past weekend. But that got me thinking.
All your time on TikTok.
What's that? There's 48 hours to waste in a weekend, and I found how to waste every single one of them. But the thing that got me thinking, though, at the end of that is, okay, it really focused on 4 main privately owned zoos / attractions in the U.S. And really, there's hundreds of them. And I've been to the Richmond Zoo, which is privately owned. When we went to Myrtle Beach this past summer, we went to a zoo that was privately owned, and you could tell it's a privately owned zoo.
You didn't go to Doc's, did you?
What's that?
You didn't go to...
No, not Doc's. That's way too expensive. We went to one you pay $10 to get into. The problem with these places is they can't afford to pay their employees big wages, and you saw this in the documentary. They pay them; they're almost like it's a circus. They're paying them very little, but they give them accommodations and things, and they're really working out of the love of the animals. Well, if their cash flow stops, which it has, their animals still need to eat, and that's their biggest part of their cash flow is going to the food. Or I'm sorry, not their cash flow. The biggest part of their expenditures is going to be the food for these animals. And the animals can't just take a loan out. So you're going to see a lot of these places not being able to survive. They're going to go down. And what happens to these animals? I mean, where do the animals go if they're starving and hungry? It's very scary to think of where the zoo industry is, not the big zoos, but the privately owned zoos, the roadside attractions, where they're going to be, where they are now and where they're going to be at the end of this.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a whole nother avenue. You can shut down your rides and have
my rides don't need to eat.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, any additional recommendations or final thoughts or any words of wisdom from Clint Novak on?
I would just say, stay positive. Make sure you stay in contact with your guests any way you can. Don't necessarily push the fact that, you have deals and specials that you want to sell them right now. Just let them know that you're going to be here when everything is said and done. And always, keep your communications open with other people in the industry as well. There's a lot of people in the industry that are willing to share information. Make sure you reach out to them, ask them what they're doing, throw your ideas out there. Do you think that this is a good idea? Something that you may want to do, and figure out, together, making those decisions together is way better than making a bad decision and finding out that 6 other people did it the right way and you did it the wrong way. So to figure that out before you do the wrong thing is great. So that's my thing, is just communicate with the rest of the industry.
Nice. Very well said. Well said. Clint, if people want to get a hold of you directly, where would you send them?
I can't divulge that information. We're now in lockdown. No, I'm kidding. You can email me at ClintN, CLINTN, at visitfunland.com.
Awesome. Excellent. Clint, thanks so much. Stay safe, stay healthy. Hopefully you won't go into this full lockdown, but if you do, hopefully it doesn't last very long. And
I'll keep TikTok afloat.
Good, exactly.
We'll be watching
and keeping up to the latest updates.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Clint.